I have looked at a lot of FNAF VHS fan animations and they have been really good. From the VALOXs to the Sundowns to Foxy Factions. These have been really good, links in the description, but as I was looking for a new FNAF VHS video, I stumbled upon something really unique. A VHS series that is inspired by FNAF but has an identity of its own. Today I'm going to be looking at the entire Mackenzie's Learning Lodge series, created by the underrated Megla. So I'm going to be going over the series so far, breaking it down, trying to solve this new story. Of course the original videos are in the description, so go check it out. Anyway, let's not waste any more time and let's get to learning. For our first video, we have Hide and Seek. The video begins and we are in this kids' entertainment establishment as someone is running and hiding from something. They go under a table and we see two giant boots stand by the table. This person is hiding from the animatronic. It reaches down and with its giant hand flips the table over, most likely killing the person filming. Something you'll notice here is these first couple videos are really short, so I won't be spending too much time on them. Moving on to the next one. In this next video, we have Lynx in the arcade. The video begins and we see a Lynx, a giant bobcat, looking for someone. It jumps from game to game. The person recording is in fear, trying not to get noticed, but it's too late. Lynx has spotted them and most likely killed this person before the video cuts out. Next, we have Heed the Raven's Call, where in this video we see the rest of this establishment, empty tables and chairs. As the camera looks around, we see a raven with red eyes who starts to call out. The feed cuts to different areas of the facility where we see Mackenzie and Lynx. With the raven's call, he summons them. The animatronics go to him and all three of them are just looking at the camera. Mackenzie immediately destroys the camera, cutting out the feed. Next, we have the Beavers Gift. The video begins as we are in the main area of the facility when out of nowhere a construction beaver comes out blocking the exit. He offers us a hammer as a gift. Taking a moment, we slowly walk towards him, but before we can make a decision, the beaver decides to kill us by most likely biting our heads off, ending the video. With most of the main cast introduced, in this next video we have Showtime, where in this one we have a VHS tape from the Mackenzie Robotics Company. It's a Showtime testing routine where we have both Mackenzie and Bow, the beaver, who sing a very good song, and for a sec I forgot I was meant to be creeped out, but things don't stay cheery for long. As Bow continues to sing, Mackenzie very suddenly looks at the camera. And in an instant, the footage freezes, changing the color to a very muted shade, the audio only being the sound of the tape. We cut to this shot of Mackenzie's head with no animatronic inside of it, with the words, "Nobody remembers anymore" on the bottom. Then subtly in all red, "Remember," with Mackenzie in anger. It ends cutting to black. Now with this one here, I believe something terrible happened to the soul that possesses Mackenzie, perhaps an unsolved murder that everyone forgot about, or that the police just gave up on. Next, we have Theophobia, where we are in an office overlooking a giant tank, and we are introduced to two water animatronics, a shark and a killer whale. The shark is attacked by the whale. The whale also nods at us, as if almost watching out for us. They both look very creepy though. In one of the most creepiest videos in this series, we have The Blinded Wolf, and here we're thrown right into the action. We're in a party room, and down the hall we see this giant scary looking wolf hunched over who's looking for us. We make a noise by knocking over a chair, and the wolf comes running over really fast, searching and trying to find us using its ears. But before escaping, the raven blocks us and gives away our position, which kills us. Moving on to In Transit. Here we have most of the animatronics in a moving truck. As the title suggests, we are in transit to somewhere. And after zooming in on Mackenzie, the video cuts to empty suits of Bow and Lila. Strange audio begins playing, which at first is just gibberish, but the words that are being said are code words for an alphabet. When solved, shout out to the comments of the video, lead you to another video, Transmission Received. Here we see a newspaper clipping titled, "Chainsaw Murderer Apprehended." Though hard to read the actual newsletter to summarize it, it says that the man was caught for the spree of murders, but there are still some missing individuals. Interesting. Next, we have Beware the Hellon. Here we're in the woods at the dead of night. We hear this gut-wrenching scream. The person recording then says, "Alright, this better be," but before finishing they are killed by the Hellon, which is this withered version of Mackenzie. Now, how did Mackenzie get like this? I'm not even sure. But then the words, "Don't get ahead of yourself," and you have to understand first appear, as if telling the viewer that we don't have all the answers. How did he get like this, or if this even is Mackenzie? Moving on, we have Head for Sale. In this very cool take on those old ads that would sell off old props, we see the head of Mackenzie, with the description of the head telling the buyer that this was found in an abandoned location and was used to test out techniques for moving animatronics. As the commercial goes on, we get different angles of the head with more description, basically telling the potential buyers that a find like this is really rare. But at this next part of the video, the ad goes dark, as the description now reads, "This piece's value is increased further due to the now infamous events at the Mackenzies." Then it gets blacked out. My assumption is it talks about the chainsaw murderers, but of course it could be something else too. We return to normal as the number on screen appears to buy this item. Now, I believe that all of these videos we've seen up until this point was sort of an introduction phase. We know that there were some murderers at Mackenzie's and that the place closed down, but how did the actual location look like? Are there more murderers? But from here on out, the lore gets heavier and heavier, and the story can get pieced just a tad bit more. Now entering Phase 2. These next strange videos are the rebranding phase, training tapes on how to maintain all the animatronics as we enter a new era in Mackenzie's. Starting off, we have Rebrand McKenzie. In this video, we learned how to properly rig up Mackenzie. We see it go from lifeless to booting up, looking right at us. How nice. Then moving on to the jaws, which is very intimidating. The video quickly cuts to a newspaper clip entitled Multiple Bodies Discovered. Now here, I can't make out exactly what it says since it's too blurry, but I can assume that Mackenzie's more victims have been found. We quickly return to the main video and finish up getting Mackenzie ready. They give us a thumbs up, and the video ends. Probably the most wholesome moment from this entire series. We then transition to an empty Mackenzie suit, and slowly the word "win" appears, ending the video. Next, we have Rebrandlla. Here, it's pretty much the same thing. We learn how Lila works and how to make sure she's ready for her show. Unlike the Mackenzie one, nothing scary happens in between the tape, but it's worth noting that Lila is a pretty unique animatronic that can jump and she has reflective eyes, so that's pretty cool and creepy. Lila waves goodbye to us, and once again, we are at the end. We're treated to a mysterious message. This time, Lila appears with no endoskeleton, and the word "body" appears, ending the tape. Keeping the same theme, we have Rebrand Bow. Here we have Bow the Beaver. After putting in his endo suit and booting him up, we reach the jaw movement portion, and when playing the video, it cuts to Bow's jaws clamping down, spewing blood, and making a loud crunching sound. It caught me off guard when I first saw this, but after that, it cuts to an empty Bow suit. Words appear that say, "They gave up too soon," and "I'm almost found." Finally, we come to an empty Bow suit, and like the others, the word "was" appears, ending the video. Quickly, there are these two blueprint videos that share the schematics for both Richard the Raven and Wolfgang. There's not much to these, so I wanted to quickly bring them up, though it is cool to see their true form. Rebrand Richard. Here we learn how Richard works and how to maintain him, but unlike the others here, Richard locks in and out of nowhere turns from VHS to 4K. He's transported into this void, and from his perspective we see a red light and hear the sounds of crows crowing. From here we get jump scared and the words "where is my friend" appear. That's why he seemed so confused earlier, like the others. At the end we see the word "split" appear under an empty Richard. Next here we have Rebrand Wolfgang. He's different because Wolfgang, unlike the others, is allowed to leave the facility like a lone wolf. Making sure his aiming system is all intact, the video cuts out and we see Wolfgang rocking back and forth as if regretting something he did and crying over it. Being one of the most less informative training tapes, we are then met with an empty Wolfgang suit, and at the bottom the word "so" appears, ending the tape. Almost reaching the end of these Rebrand training tapes, we have Rebrand Gage. Gage is the shark we saw earlier, and his maintenance is probably the riskiest of them all. While inspecting his teeth, the tape cuts out to a back room with many parts lying around, one of them being Gage's head. After that, we see the tank and a sign that says, "Please clean the tank, winter watch," by management. As Gage slowly comes closer, the tape cuts to black. The last shot is empty Gage, and the word "was" is seen at the bottom. Finally reaching the end of the Rebrand tapes, we have Rebrand Opal. Like Gage, Opal is strictly for underwater use. While inspecting and seeing how it works, the tape cuts rather quickly with an empty Opal suit and the word "soul." After this, the screen is taken over by the message that reads, "Take any final notes and hand them to the agent outside your viewing room." The sounds of paper are heard, and someone stands up from their chair, walks over to the door and knocks on it, and leaves, meaning that this entire time we were watching these tapes alongside somebody else. But who? Well, that remains to be answered. It could be an investigator or a witness to these crimes. As of right now, it's still a mystery. Before looking at the final video of this series, we have yet another newspaper clipping that reads "Copycat Killer." Now, in this one it states that there's a killer who's copying another murderer that dated back to the 1950s. Now, here there's no mention of Mackenzie's, but it can be suspected that this killer is the current killer in the storyline. We are now at the latest video of this series titled "Welcome to Mackenzie's." The video opens up with a lot of text on screen telling the viewer that the content they're about to watch is very top secret and is not to be shared with anyone. After that, we get to some brief context on that Mackenzie's company and why it closed down. Here we learn that Mackenzie's was closed due to poorly managed budget, lawsuits, and a permanently tarnished image. Then we get the backstory to this tape. The man in this one was referred to as a winter watchman. He was found dead at the scene with no evidence on how he died until this tape was found. There were also sightings of deer monsters in the surrounding forest. Finally, the creators of this tape believed that there were more evidence that they can uncover, the mystery to it all. and also find the Hellon, a mysterious creature. And with this, the official tape begins. It opens up with a man pulling up to the Mackenzie's location. Heavy snow fills the area and nobody is around. He goes inside the place only to find it without power. He continues exploring. He goes down a hallway and into the Opal and Gage exhibit, where on the desk he finds a paper with his task written out. He goes back outside and restarts the power. He goes to the giant shipping containers and one by one brings in each animatronic, the first being Mackenzie. After he brings in Lila, setting her up on her ice mountain, finally he brings in Bow the Beaver. As night comes around, he takes a second look at the place, making sure everything is in top-notch condition. As he's doing this, Mackenzie decides it's time to stretch the legs. They walk off stage and go outside with axe in hand. We cut to a mysterious room that shakes with words on screen. After this, the tape ends. We return to the words, explaining that the viewer that every tape from now on will require a physical examination after watching. We then are informed that there are more tapes to be viewed. Finally, we cut to into the perspective of Mackenzie, who is wandering the forest, looking for the Winter Watchman. The end. Okay, so with all these tapes out of the way, what is going on? Well, this is the latest video in the series. It really did shed a lot of light on Mackenzie's. First, we know that there are murders at that location. We know this because the newspaper and animatronics. Also, when combining all the words at the end of the rebranding videos, we got the phrase, "When body was split, so was soul," meaning that when these people were murdered, the body was split because of the chainsaw, and the soul was too. The souls of these people went into the different animatronics. I believe the people murdered here were not children, but adults. Also, Mackenzie's never had a chance to open to the public. As we see in the final tape, all the people that died were those who worked for the company. Moving on to who's watching these tapes. Well, it could be a couple of people, the first being investigators and witnesses. At the end of the rebranding video, we heard someone who was taking their final notes, given to an agent to help the investigation. Now, could this be an agent of the authorities or an agent of Mackenzie's? We know the company wants to make a comeback but are really struggling. We know there are more tapes, like way more tapes. I hope we get some footage on how each animatronic could have worked, like a testing tape at their each different exhibit. That'd be really cool. Also, they're roaming around in the freaking woods. That's crazy. Perhaps a man in a cabin fighting off these monsters would make for an interesting tape. I just wanted to say that these tapes were phenomenal. It's a breath of fresh air in the FNAF VHS space. This is a unique and very cool idea. I'm very excited to watch the next tapes in this series. The animation, the sound, the lighting, everything here is awesome. Once again, check it out if you haven't. They're really good. I also want to say thank you so much for the support on the channel. It means so much to me. So thank you. Please make sure to like my video and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.